Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. The clock read 4:30 p.m. as I sat tucked into the corner of a modest little waffle cafe. The hum of conversation buzzed around me. Two women a few tables back venting about their overbearing boss, while a duo nearby waged a silent battle against an absurd mountain of toast. Rebecca, the waitress, had just refilled my cup when a shadow crept across the table. "Well, Alex," I said, my words laced with dry sarcasm, "glad you could finally grace me with your presence." Standing there was Alexander Thomas, my former father-in-law, looking uncharacteristically unsure of himself. "Nigel, can we talk?" Of course. After more than 7 years of knowing him, this was the first time he seemed anything less than invincible. The man who once exuded an aura of unshakable authority now appeared fragile. That was new. "Sit down, Alex. You're making a scene." Sliding into the seat opposite mine, Alex drew curious glances from nearby patrons. It wasn't every day you saw Alexander Thomas, the man who owned the largest warehouse in town and commanded the only major freight company for miles, looking anything less than imposing. 16 years ago, when local businesses were collapsing like dominoes, Alex managed to keep his afloat. Half the town owed him their livelihoods, their homes, maybe even more. You didn't cross a man like that. But today he looked like a shadow of that man. Stubble marked his jaw, dark circles carved deep under his eyes. Sleep, it seemed, had abandoned him. "Nigel, I know this has been hard, but can't you and Olivia move past this issue?" An issue? My jaw clenched as I fought the rising tide of anger. My heart raced, pounding like it wanted out of my chest, palms slick with sweat. But I held steady. This wasn't just an argument. This was a battle I intended to win. The background noise dimmed, as if the room leaned in to listen. "Fine, let them." "All right, Alex. Which part of this issue do you want me to pretend never happened?" My voice remained calm, each word deliberate. "It was just one mistake." "Wrong," I snapped. "It went on for years, and you know that. She wasn't always like this. She never used to be unfaithful." "Spare me, Alex. She played me for a fool for years. Want the truth? The raw, unfiltered version?" I picked up a biscuit, tearing it apart as I spoke. "When we first met, I tried to get her number. She paraded every guy around, even the ones she'd already been with. Why? To push me away? But I stayed, like an idiot." I smeared some apple jam on my toast, pausing to take a slow bite. "Then she introduced me to you. You hated me on sight. My politics, my job, my clothes, none of it passed your test. At first I thought it was just protective dad stuff. But no, you genuinely despised me. Never good enough for your precious daughter." Alex's jaw tensed, but silence was his only reply. He knew I was right. "I spent years trying to win your approval, took your insults, your condescension, and never said a word. Can you think of a single time I embarrassed you in public? No? Didn't think so." Another bite. The sweetness of the jam was a cruel contrast to the bitterness simmering beneath my words. "You want to know how much I endured? After we split, best 3 months of my life, by the way, she pulled me back. Things seemed different. She even started coming home on time. Then I proposed. Biggest mistake I ever made." A dry laugh escaped me. Suddenly women were all over me, at work, the gym, even the grocery store. Lee Ann once cornered me in a supply closet, claiming she wasn't wearing anything under her dress. I turned them all down. I was engaged, after all. But guess what? During wedding prep, I saw those same women again. Friends, family, old classmates. Turns out they were testing me. I leaned in, my voice dropping to a sharp whisper. "Did I pass, Alex? Huh? Did I?" He stayed silent. So I pressed on. Then came the prenup. If I cheated, I got nothing. If she cheated, I walked away with 12 grand, my car, my clothes, and my grandparents' house. I signed it without blinking. Remember that? I leaned back, locking eyes with him. Fast forward to last Saturday. I get called into work because someone bailed on an amusement park trip. 8 brutal hours later, I get home and can't even park in my own damn driveway. Someone else was already there. I let the silence settle, heavy and suffocating. And that, Alex, was just the beginning. I figured one of the neighbors must have claimed that parking spot, and Olivia probably didn't bother asking them to move. When I walked inside, her car was sitting perfectly in the driveway, but Olivia herself was nowhere to be seen. I called out, "Olivia!" She answered from the bedroom, "I'm here." Like an idiot, I went upstairs, planning to ask about the car, but nothing could have braced me for what I stumbled upon when I entered the room. There she was, wrapped up in the sheets with another man. In our bed. My bed. They were right there, tangled together in the home we shared. For a second I was paralyzed. Then fury surged through me. "What the hell is this?" I roared. Sounds absurd now, doesn't it? I mean, the evidence was right in front of me. My wife, cheating. But my mind was spinning. "Oh, honey, I love you, but I need more than you can give," she said, as if it was no big deal. "Don't stress about it. I'll still sleep with you. It's just intimate. It doesn't mean anything." She really said that. Can you believe it? And that guy? He just lounged there, acting like it was the most normal thing in the world. Olivia even had the gall to let out a moan like I wasn't standing right there, veins pulsing with rage. But she wasn't done. "Babe, could you grab us something to drink?" she asked, like I was some kind of errand boy. That snapped me out of my daze. "You want me to bring drinks? For you and him?" I shot back, my voice dripping with disbelief. She smiled sweetly, as if this was all perfectly reasonable. "Yeah, grab something from your stash of beer. You want a drink? Get it yourself, you worthless piece of trash," I spat, trembling with anger. She sighed, clearly irritated. "Don't be like that. This is what we agreed on, remember? No lies before marriage." Then the guy had the nerve to pipe up. "Come on, man. Don't blow this out of proportion. You still get her most nights, and hey, you've got this nice house with her. Just roll with it." "Say that again, and I'll make sure you're drinking through a straw for the rest of your life," I growled. He shrank back, deflating like a popped balloon. Looked like he might wet himself right then and there. "Screw this. Screw you both. Keep the damn house. I'm done," I shouted, storming out. But guess who I ran into in the hall? Mike, her brother. "Whoa, slow down, Nigel. It's not what it looks like," Mike said, trying to play peacemaker. "Get out of my way." "What are you even doing here?" I snapped, shoving past him. But he grabbed my arm. Now, I've never been fond of Mike. So when he laid hands on me, instinct kicked in. One punch, that's all it took. I aimed for his jaw, but hit him square in the throat. If you've ever been hit there, you know it knocks the wind right out of you. I didn't stick around. I grabbed my camping backpack from the bedroom, just the essentials, and made for the door. "Mike's doing better now, Nigel," someone mentioned later. "Doctors say he'll be fine. Good for him." I couldn't care less. I poked at my toast, replaying everything in my head. Oh yeah, Olivia chased after me as I left, her robe flapping like a flag, yelling through the drizzle, begging me to stop. But she made her choices. Where did I go? That was easy. I still had my old house. Just finished renovations, hadn't rented it yet, so it became my refuge. Sunday came, and I drove back to grab more of my stuff. The house was empty, probably off at church or something. I packed my clothes, grabbed a few essentials, and even decided to donate some things to the Salvation Army. The floor was too damn hard otherwise. When I returned, guess who was waiting? Olivia. She jumped out of her car, shouting my name, desperate. "Nigel, please, we need to talk. Let me explain." But I was already inside, slamming the door shut. She knocked, pounded, rang the bell. I ignored it all. What was left to explain? She cheated. End of story. Did I scream at her? No. Call the cops? Nope. Sneak out the back? Not even close. I just put on my headphones and flipped through a magazine. Eventually, the police showed up. Took them a while to get me to open the door, but the flashing lights gave them away. Nothing dramatic. It was my house, in my name. They couldn't make me leave, so they sent her packing. Anyone else might have been arrested, but not her, Daddy's little princess. Alex nervously cradled the coffee Rebecca handed him. He wasn't used to feeling powerless, always the one in control. But not this time. This time I held the reins, and I wasn't letting go. By Monday, I withdrew 12 grand from our joint account, canceled all shared credit cards, not like I used them, and tied up loose ends. Then I went to SNK for an interview. They'd tried recruiting me before, but Olivia thought it was too risky. Life's funny like that. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. After that, I walked into my boss's office. "Tom, I'm sorry, but I'm quitting." "What?" "I thought you liked it here," he said, genuinely surprised. "Actually, I hate it. You're a good boss, Tom, but I didn't go to college to be a clerk. And well, I caught my wife with another man. I need a fresh start." "Damn, Nigel. Olivia, I hate to lose you. Is there anything I can do to change your mind?" "Sorry, Tom. It's done. Thanks for everything." As I left, I caught his nosy secretary eavesdropping, pretending to be on a call. No doubt she was already spreading the gossip. Next stop, Mrs. Hines, my divorce lawyer. Her assistant handled the paperwork, but there was someone else waiting, probably hoping Olivia wouldn't get served at work. Too late. They've been trying to convince me to talk to Olivia ever since. I ignored them. Did you really think you could fix this? Olivia, sleeping with another man in our bed? There's nothing left to say. Why did she betray me? Let me walk you through it. At first I had choices. I could have left things exactly as they were, tangled up in the sheets, forgotten by morning. Honestly, I think that would have suited her just fine. It would have quenched her insatiable craving for fleeting excitement. I won't pretend. The chase had its allure. Winning her over, watching her fall under my spell, that was part of the thrill. But Olivia was never one for sentimentality. No handwritten letters, unexpected calls during her lunch break, impromptu dates, or carefully chosen presents. To her, those were meaningless distractions. Maybe she wanted to get even for something I'd done. But wait, I never strayed. Not when we were dating, not after we said our vows. So that couldn't be it. Was it about the bachelor party? That theory falls apart quickly. I spent the evening deep in conversation with Stacy and Mike, helping them sort out their mess after a heated argument. So, what was her reason? And did she genuinely believe she could repair what she shattered? I thought I gave her everything, emotionally, physically. Could it have been another one of her twisted experiments? Maybe she wanted to gauge if my love was authentic, or if I was just after her wealth, the very money I funneled into keeping her boutique edible flower shop alive. Perhaps she staged it, hoping I'd catch them in the act, expecting me to explode in rage and lash out. Or maybe she wanted me to walk away, giving her the chance to proclaim her love, reassured that my feelings were true. If money was my motive, her betrayal wouldn't have mattered. But here's the truth. I left. I refused to play that game, Alex. For years, I tolerated your unbearable family and Olivia's endless challenges. And what did I gain? Trust? Affection? Respect? None of those. I came home to find her in bed with another man. Maybe another test to prove my devotion. Alex finally found his voice. "Isn't there anything that can save your marriage?" "I know Olivia loves you," he said, his tone almost desperate. "She loves me?" I exhaled heavily. "I'm worn out, Alex. Completely spent." The door to the Waffle Cafe groaned as it opened. I don't know what kind of upbringing led her here, but I can't do this anymore. She'll never change. She needs someone who can constantly reassure her, and I just don't have it left in me. She tested me one last time. I did love her, Alex, but she crushed that. My voice was void of emotion. "I hope you're satisfied." I stood up. Alex remained motionless. As I slid on my jacket, my gaze drifted to the counter. There she was, Olivia. She must have heard my final words. She'd likely just arrived. Our eyes met, hers brimming with tears, her chin trembling. But inside me, there was nothing. I pulled a 50 from my wallet, placed it on the table, and stepped out into the night. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you. Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. Friday had arrived, and I left the hangar earlier than usual. The crew had their own plans, and once they wrapped up, they'd likely head off to enjoy their evening. Since I had no reason to linger, I was looking forward to a night with my wife, Patricia. We had been together for nearly 8 years, married for 4.5, both of us now 31. Lately, there had been a growing distance between us. Over the past month, she seemed preoccupied, her thoughts elsewhere. Determined to bring back a spark, I planned a special evening. Fine wine, thick-cut ribeye steaks from the butcher, and roses fresh from a florist instead of the standard supermarket bouquet. I wanted to set the perfect atmosphere with candlelight and hopefully uncover what had been weighing on her mind. More than anything, I wanted to remind her of my love and, with luck, share an intimate evening together. I arrived home well before she did. After tidying up, I replaced the sheets with fresh linen and placed candles around the bedroom. The dining table was set with our finest silverware and cloth napkins. I uncorked a bottle of wine, allowing it to breathe, and set the roses near the front entrance so their scent would greet her the moment she stepped inside. Patricia adored the scent of roses. I prepared the side dish, thinly sliced potatoes drizzled with olive oil, seasoned lightly with salt, pepper, and a touch of rosemary, before sliding them into the oven. The steaks were waiting to be seasoned, just a dash of mustard powder to bring out their depth of flavor. Everything was ready. The evening was set to be perfect. All that remained was for her to walk through the door so I could sweep her off her feet and remind her just how much she meant to me. I wanted this feeling to carry through the entire weekend. Just as I was arranging the potato slices on the tray, oven preheating, I heard the front door open. Her voice echoed through the house. "Jeremy, are you home?" That was strange. My car was parked right out front, and the roses should have made it clear I was here. I had just finished sprinkling the rosemary when I heard her speaking again, but this time, not to me. "All right, we got here first. Let's sit on the couch. When he comes in, it'll be easier if we're seated and he's standing. Less chance of him reacting badly." Reacting badly? To what? I stepped into the living room, my confusion turning to shock. Patricia looked startled at my presence, but it wasn't just her sitting on the couch. Another man was there too. One glance, and I knew exactly who he was. Michael, the new deputy head of HR. She had mentioned him frequently over the past couple of months. Tall, athletic, blonde, and carrying an air of arrogance, he regarded me without a hint of unease. With a smirk, he extended his hand. "Hey, Jeremy, I'm Michael." Still trying to process the situation, I instinctively shook his hand. His grip was unnecessarily strong, almost as if he were testing me. He released my hand just before the pressure became unbearable. What a smug bastard. Before I could speak, Patricia cut in. "Jeremy, we need to talk." Was this some kind of unexpected dinner guest situation? I could thaw another steak if necessary. But before I could ask, she continued, "I'm going to spend the weekend with Michael. Just this one weekend." I blinked. My mind stalled. "What?" Michael took a step closer. "This is for your own good. I'm going to teach her things you can't even imagine. After this, you'll appreciate her even more. Just one weekend, and she'll never need to do anything like this again." "No, absolutely not." I shook off the initial shock. "If she does this, I'll divorce her." Michael's expression darkened as he moved closer, his voice dropping to a quiet, menacing tone. "No, you won't." My jaw tightened. "You can't stop me." His eyes held a quiet threat. "No, I can't. But the day you file for divorce, walking will become difficult. Pain will be your new companion." Patricia remained silent as Michael casually draped an arm around her, his smirk unwavering. "She's coming with me for the weekend. I'll teach her everything, and then she'll return to you. She'll be faithful after this." He turned to her. "Right, sweetheart?" That word, sweetheart, made my blood boil. I managed to find my voice. "Have you two already slept together?" Patricia quickly shook her head. "No, we haven't. That would be cheating." I stared at her in disbelief. "And this isn't?" She hesitated before offering weakly, "Do you want a beer?" I let out a humorless laugh. I think I can get my own damn beer. Michael squeezed her shoulder. Give him a minute, sweetheart. He needs time to process. We've been discussing this for weeks, and we just dropped it on him all at once. He'll come around. They always do. Always. He had done this before. I turned sharply and strode into the kitchen. The open bottle of wine caught my eye. I poured a glass and took a sip. No, wine wasn't strong enough for this. I needed something harder. Marching into the garage, I yanked open the fridge, nearly ripping the door off, and grabbed a bottle of Old Crafty Hen. Slamming the door shut, I cursed under my breath. Fools. That's what they were. I reached for a bottle opener. Couldn't find it. Didn't matter. I used an old army trick, wedging the cap against the metal edge of the workbench and striking it hard. The cap flew off. I barely noticed where it landed. Taking a deep breath, my thoughts sharpened. A plan started to form. I crossed the garage, opened a cabinet, retrieved what I needed, and slipped it into my back pocket. I finished my beer, grabbed another, and returned to the kitchen. This time, I opened the bottle properly. Reaching for the largest knife from the block, I slid it into my waistband next to the other item. Just for show. I had no intention of ending up in jail. With a deep breath, I stepped back into the living room. There they were, sitting on my couch, holding hands. The moment they saw me, they quickly pulled apart, scooting away from each other. Good. A subtle shift in power. I pulled out my phone and tossed it onto the coffee table. The screen glowed brightly, revealing that I had been recording everything. Michael's smirk wavered. He stood, raising his hands as if to placate me. Listen, buddy, it's just one weekend. Buddy. That word grated on me. He was not my buddy. His eyes flicked to my phone. I see you're recording this. That's fine. But if this gets out, you know what happens next. Leaning in slightly, his voice dropped to a whisper laced with menace. The pain you'll feel then will make broken legs seem like a minor inconvenience. You get me? I need to document this, for my own protection, but also, in a strange way, for yours and hers. Don't even think about taking this to HR, I warned, my voice steady but firm. As the deputy head, every complaint passes through me first. And if you think you can go around me, think again. I have people who will let me know the second you try. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Understood? He smirked, smug as ever. Crystal clear, I replied, holding his gaze. But I have an idea about how we should handle this. The bastard tilted his head, eyes gleaming with amusement as he gestured toward my phone. For the record, I said, my voice colder now. Tell me exactly what you plan to do with my wife. His grin widened, dripping with arrogance. I'm taking her away for the weekend, giving her something she's never had before. A new kind of pleasure, a real education. She'll come back to you with skills that'll make you grateful. His eyes flickered with something between cruelty and triumph. When she returns, she'll be a better wife, more devoted, more satisfying. Of course, she might need a few days to recover. She probably won't even be able to walk straight for a while. I refused to react. And then? I asked. Then she stays loyal to you, he declared confidently. That's the deal. She's promised me this will be her one and only adventure. After this, she's all yours, with a few new tricks to keep you happy. I turned to Patricia. Is this what you want? Yes, Jeremy. Please, she pleaded. Just one weekend. After that, I swear I'll be faithful. I shifted my attention back to Michael. And if she doesn't keep those promises, just like she broke the vows she made on our wedding day? What then? Will you step in and discipline her the way you threatened to do to me? Or will she find someone even better than you? Someone who makes you look like an amateur? For the first time, his composure wavered. He wasn't used to being questioned. She swore she'd stay true to you after this. I scoffed, sure, because she's been so reliable up until now. Here's my counteroffer. I'll fight you for her. He straightened, the challenge drawing out his arrogance. He was younger, broader, cocky, if that's what you want. I don't want to waste my weekend, I countered. Let's settle this now. Patricia's hands flew to her mouth, her tell when she's anxious. 2 men fighting over me? That's exciting, she murmured, her voice tinged with something close to delight. I turned to her, my voice sharp. I'm not fighting for you. You're not worth it. I'm fighting for my self-respect. The light in her eyes dimmed. Good. I laid down the terms. If I win, you leave and never contact her again. Not at home, not at work. If you win, you get your weekend, and I won't divorce her. But there are rules. His smirk returned. Let's hear them. First one to hit the ground on his back loses. No weapons, no knives, and whoever wins, no police. Fine by me, he said. Got any knives? I pulled a butcher's knife from my waistband and set it on the coffee table. His smirk twitched. What next? You got a gun too? He sneered. I reached behind me and pulled out an air pistol, a perfect replica of a real firearm. I leveled it at him. His cocky exterior cracked, just a little. I'm going to beat you down, he growled. And when I'm done, I'll put you on your back. Go ahead. Just remember, no weapons, no cops. I get it, punk. You'll regret this. Maybe I'll keep her for the whole week. If you win, at least I'll know I stood my ground. I'll still be able to look at myself in the mirror. That shook Patricia. She had miscalculated. No, stop. I don't want this anymore. Jeremy, don't do this. Michael, leave. Too late. She had set this in motion, and I would see it through. Grab your phone, I ordered her. Record everything. I want proof. She obeyed, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. I gestured toward the kitchen door. After you. Michael stepped outside, heading for the back. The second he cleared the doorway, I kicked him hard in the back, sending him face first into the flower bed. He scrambled up, rage twisting his features. I smiled. No rules, remember? He lunged, swinging wild, slow, predictable. I sidestepped easily and threw a handful of salt, pepper, and mustard powder into his face. He reeled, coughing and blinking furiously, tears streaming from his burning eyes. I took my chance, slamming a knee into his gut. He folded, barely keeping his feet, a sharp punch to his stomach, a second to his jaw. Blood bloomed from his nose. He staggered, still up. I hit him again, harder. He dropped to his knees, hands clutching at his face. I backhanded him, then slapped him for good measure. This ends when you're on your back. He crumpled, rolling onto his side before finally landing flat on his back. I stood over him, breathing steady. I turned to Patricia. Her face was pale, streaked with tears. Regret? Fear? I didn't care. I grabbed Michael by the hair and dragged him to the garden gate. You will never speak to her again. And if the police show up, you'll wish I'd been less merciful. I shoved him through the gate. The stench confirmed he'd soiled himself. Patricia was still holding the phone, still recording. Send me that video, I ordered, heading inside to wash my hands. At least he'd smell like rosemary. Patricia followed me upstairs. I pulled out a suitcase and started packing her underwear. What are you doing? She asked, voice shaky. You won. I belong to you now. Her voice remained firm as her gaze met mine. I kept packing her things, the quiet stretching between us save for our shared understanding. If I had lost, I wouldn't have divorced you, she continued. But as you pointed out, I won. And that means I'm leaving. Saying nothing, I grabbed her suitcase and carried it downstairs. The front door groaned as I swung it open, and without hesitation, I tossed her luggage outside. Then, pulling out my phone, I dialed her mother's number. Jeremy, what a nice surprise. What's the occasion? Madison, could you come pick up your daughter? My tone was neutral, almost detached. I'm divorcing her. I didn't wait for a response before ending the call. Moments later, I forwarded an audio file, Michael bragging about his upcoming weekend with her daughter. Madison replied almost immediately. That's exactly what she wanted. Switching off my phone, I turned back to Patricia. Taking her wrist, I led her outside, shut the door, and locked it behind her. The knocking started soon after, persistent but ultimately ignored. Eventually, it ceased. I half expected the police to arrive, but they never did. Perhaps Michael was too humiliated to admit he'd lost a fight to a man smaller than him. Either way, it didn't concern me. Saturday was spent sorting through Patricia's belongings and reviewing finances. My grandparents had left this house to my sister and me. I had taken out a mortgage to buy her share, and Patricia had contributed to some of the payments. I would need to compensate her for that. By evening, I had finished editing the video and audio evidence, then sent it to every email I could find at Patricia's workplace. Michael had surely made enemies there, and I trusted they would ensure the footage found its way to HR. Sunday morning, her father arrived to collect the remainder of her things. He lingered for a moment before asking, "Is there any way?" He must have read the answer in my expression, because he let the question die. Instead, we shook hands, and he left without another word. I suspected her parents had played a role in how smoothly the divorce proceedings had gone. 4 months passed. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, and I was in the garage cleaning my air guns in preparation for an upcoming competition. The doorbell rang. I was about to get up when I heard a familiar voice. "I'll get it." Clara. She was the one who kept my house in order. Moments later, she appeared in the doorway. "There's a woman at the door. Says she's your wife. Blonde, early 30s, maybe a little older." I put the kettle on and left her in the living room. I stepped into the room and found Patricia sitting stiffly on the couch. She looked polished but worn, as if the past few months had weighed heavily on her. "What do you want?" My voice carried no emotion. She swallowed. "I came to pay you what I owe for the house." I folded my arms. "That all?" Her expression tightened. "Jeremy, I made a mistake." Her voice wavered. "Michael convinced me it would be fine. He told me if you truly loved me, you'd let me go through with it. He seemed so confident. One of the other girls even vouched for him." I raised an eyebrow. "Is she still married?" Patricia hesitated. "I don't know. I don't work there anymore. After everyone saw the recordings, I was humiliated. No one would talk to me. I had to leave." I sighed. "Are you still involved with Michael?" "No, I never intended to be. He kept his word and never spoke to me again. But he didn't last long. He missed too much work, got fired, and rumor has it another husband beat him up." "Wasn't me," I said, leaning back. "But I did warn him before throwing him out." She nodded. "You were right. He wasn't a good man. A decent man doesn't sleep with someone else's wife." She reached for my hand. "Jeremy, please, can we try again? I'll never be that foolish again. I thought I was making the right choice, but I wasn't. I love you." At that moment, Clara reappeared with a tray holding a teapot, cups, and biscuits. She set it between us. "Let it steep a bit before drinking," she advised, then vanished back into the kitchen. Patricia watched her go. "Or have you replaced me already?" "That's Clara," I said flatly. "She cleans here once a week. She also works at the hangar. I don't have time to do it myself." "So, do we have a chance?" Hope flickered in her voice, undercut with desperation. I poured myself a cup of tea, took a sip. It was weak. Clara had been right. I should have waited. 4 months, Patricia. 4 months of silence. You never contested the divorce. Why now? She lowered her gaze. "I needed time. I hoped you'd miss me. I needed courage to face you. My mother said if you loved me, you'd give me another chance. My father told me I was wasting my time, but I had to try." Clara re-entered, carrying a tray of cleaning supplies. "I'll start upstairs. Nothing in your bedroom I shouldn't see, right?" She grinned mischievously. "Hope you put away all your bondage gear." She laughed and disappeared before I could respond. I turned back to Patricia. "That's her humor. You know, we never explored anything like that. Maybe we should have." But you never wanted to experiment. Until him. She flinched, but didn't argue. You blindsided me, I continued. Planned your weekend with him for weeks, then gave me 2 minutes to decide. You even threatened me with violence. You enjoyed the idea of 2 men fighting over you. And when I won, you thought everything would return to normal. But it couldn't. You'd already decided I was never enough. She swallowed hard. When you pulled out the knife and air gun, I knew I'd made a mistake. I didn't want you going to jail because of me. I'm sorry, Jeremy. I exhaled. I loved you, Patricia, completely. But that night you killed that love. And I can't trust you anymore. Just being near you hurts. She didn't drink her tea. It's time for you to go. At the door, she paused. I love you, Jeremy. But I understand. As she stepped outside, I called out, Remember that girl who vouched for Michael? She turned slightly. Rosalie Prescott? Yeah, she's about to be Rosalie Jones again. Her shoulders slumped as she walked away. I didn't watch her leave. Instead, I climbed the stairs, curious about Clara's progress. My bedroom door was open. Inside, she lounged on the bed, black stockings hugging her legs, a knowing smile on her lips. Couldn't find your bondage gear, she teased. I smirked. Maybe it was time to try something new. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you.